some french fries for a toy. Okay, belly of the calf right, belly of the calf left. When we go into the belly of the muscle, we don't want to apply too much tension. We don't want to be adding and pushing and looking for pain. It's just not necessary. If you have a big workout later today, which most people don't on Mondays, but if you do, you want to come back and hit it again right before your session, just lightly, and make sure that you've got good blood flow and good motion through your lower leg. Okay, back to the right side. This time, let's go ahead and floss through the ankle. So that means we're just going to keep a little bit of pressure, belly of the muscle, on the calf with the foam roller, and then just point and flex the foot. Point and flex. And that's just a little bit of flossing. You can go a little bit of side to side, but what you want to assess here and make sure of, you want to make sure that you have good ankle mobility and you have good foot function. So a little bit of tension through the belly of the calf, and then we're just going to point and flex through the foot. And then we're going to invert and evert, just moving. You might even try and spread the toes out. See if you can do that. It's funny, after my ankle break, I definitely had struggle, and I still am struggling with toe mobility. It's something we don't think about. I've seen a lot of high-performance track athletes grabbing marbles with their toes just to work on that full function of the body. If you think about it, the central governor being the brain, that the toes become so important to be able to move them, because if you're not actively moving your toes, you're probably decreasing and losing a little bit of function. Okay, let's get that foam roller, and we're going to go not completely lateral. So there my hips would be, this is just too noisy, Jackson. My hips would be totally stacked. We want your hips to be a little bit closed, so we get a little bit to the front of that quad, and just working up in the hip. We're not in the belly of the quad. I think that the body weight is just too much on the quad, so I'll use my massage gun, a little bit of the stick when you're rolling through the belly, but you can control the tension that you're putting into it. So we're going anterior lateral through the hip, and then we're going to go right onto that TFL, which means we are going to stack the hips. And we're, no ponytails. Jackson, no. Here you go. Go get it. Good. And just stack those hips. He's not even a retriever. Ready? Set. Maybe he will be a retriever. Go. Go get it. Where'd it go? Go find it. Over there. By the door. Oh, this is a problem. Go find it. He's got a really good nose. Deacon, my last boxer. Let's go anterior lateral. Over there. By the door. 3 months. He understands that, I'm sure. Okay. Anterior lateral, right hip. And we're just going to work through that. Jackson. Ouch. No. Jackson, sit. Jackson. Good boy. Anterior lateral. That lasted. Good. And then you stay on that foam roller. Here you go. And we're going to go onto that TFL. So the lateral part of the hip. So now the hips are stacked, straight up and down, and we're just on the outside of the hip. Good, working through that TFL, which comes down into the IT band, joins in with that glute max, and we definitely want to have mobility there. Okay, good. Let's go into the half kneeling position. The first movement here is going to be hips to the back. So we're working on that lead hamstring, but we're also working through the hip mobility and the hip hinge, all right? So let's go 10 fingertips to the ground, push the hips back and just come straight back up. And as you come forward, let's get a little bit of knee drive over top of the toe. Ready? Go. Hips back and come right back. Ready? Go. Good. And good. Hips to the back and forward. That is so annoying, Jackson. Go. And good. Fingertips to the ground, hips to the front. Fingertips to the ground, hips to the front. Jackson, sit, go. I'm a little bit of a control freak, so I'm really hoping that the dog training that I'm doing is really starting to come together. Push the hips back. Good boy. And then forward. Knee drive over toe. Push the hips back. Ready, go. Knee forward. Hips to the back. Knee forward. Hips to the back. Knee forward. Good. Couple more of these. And good. Drop. Drop. Good boy. Sit. Okay. All right. Into a nice wide stance. Heels out. We're going to work that hip hinge again using measuring sticks. So thumbs on the bottom rib, pinkies on the hip bones. As we do the hip hinge, we want to make sure, pushing your hips back, weight on your heels, we want to make sure that we keep the space between the ribs and the hips. That's why we use the measuring sticks. Hips to the back and come right back up. Hips to the back and come right back up. And I'll show you from a side view. You really want to get good at that because you can see how healthy and long and flat the spine is, right? Hip hinge, just everything being loaded through the butt. Good. Keep going. We're just going to take our time here. We got 5 more. 1, chest stays up, nice and tall, big posture. Good. Couple more. We take these little movements for granted, and then the lack of mobility through the hips really starts creeping up on us, and we can no longer get in and out of positions off the bike, whether we're going into T2 or even just getting out of a chair to go for a run. So here, let's go half kneeling again. That leg is out to the side, arms up, and we're gonna rotate away from that lead knee. So position that so it's perpendicular. Oh, now we've got a shoe. Good. And we're gonna rotate. We've got a little bit of a shoe issue. 1, 2, I think that's somewhat normal for a puppy. 3, but it is something we're trying to nip in the bud. 4, with lots of toys. 5, 6, keep that knee really outside and directly over the toe. Good. Same thing, other side. We're going 6 or 7 reps. Just for the time that I'm doing one leg, you do yours. If you want to go a little slower, go a little slower. If you feel like you want to go a little faster, obviously do that as well. All right? So, knee is way over toe, arms rotating away. Good. Good. I am not your chew toy. Good. Good. And no. Chew on this. Ready? Go. Good. And one more. And good. So we're starting to open up that adductor, the inner thigh, and let's go ahead and work the hips into rotation now. So we're going to work that same hip hinge. We've got the measuring sticks, and we're just going to rotate the right hip towards the left thigh. Right hip, left thigh. We're starting to pick up the pace just a little bit. 3, 4, And we're still keeping this relative space between the ribs and the hips. Good. And good. So that right hip heading over towards mid-thigh on the left. Push the hips back. Little bit going this way. Same thing. Everything in the upper body stays as one piece. If the hip stops, the shoulders stop. 3, 4, toes strong into the ground. Good. There we go, starting to really loosen up there. Nice. It only gets better as you move it more, right? So let's talk a little bit about, okay, so grab the foam roller again. We're gonna go back to the hips with the foam roller. The tissue's a little bit warmed up. There's not a rule or any science that says only do foam rolling in the first part of the exercise or first part of the mobility session. We actually wanna keep going back to it, use it to our advantage to make sure we keep stimulating muscle activation and mobility, good mobility, using all the tools that we have. So once the hips are starting to get warm by hinging and by rotating, we can go back to the foam roller and ask it to do a little bit more job as we get closer to that SI joint. Some of you may be able to see that Jackson is now chewing on a cycling shoe. The good news is it's not my cycling shoe, but I will probably have to grab that at some point. He's not a destroyer. Boxers in general don't have, they're not big chew monsters. They're not destroyers. They don't have the capacity that maybe a Labrador would have, but it isn't probably the best thing that he's chewing on a cycling shoe. Okay, we're on to the other glute. Again, time under tension. I'm just using this as a massage tool and also looking for any kind of spiciness that just starts to scream at me. And if it does, there's a pinny feel, a little bit more intensity that's going to come up, especially as you increase the intensity of your training. So working through that whole right glute, right butt. There's obviously a bunch more than just one muscle in there. We want to make sure we get all of them gliding and sliding, working together. Okay, good. So we went back to the foam roller a little bit for the hips, working through the glutes. Now we want to make sure that the SI joint is starting to allow us to rotate through the pelvis. So we're going to go into that quadruped position or onto all fours. And we're doing the SI joint, the sacroiliac joint gliding exercise. So right leg is about 3 or 4 inches in front of the left. So we have an offset knee position, hands directly under the shoulders, and we're just rocking back and forth. And we want to keep that head from hanging low. So just try and keep the eyes. If you're on a bicycle, you'd be just looking down the road just a little bit. And the SI joint in a very safe position just is rotating in the back. Good. We do a lot from this quadruped position because it just decreases variables. When we decrease the force that gravity can impose on the skeleton, then the brain relax a little bit and gives us a little bit more motion. Okay, left leg in front of right, 2 hands on the ground, and we're just going to go back and forth. Good. You might get a little bit of tension through the wrists. We've talked about that before. That's good mobility working through the wrists as well, through the hands. Good. They talk about grip strength with longevity. And I can tell you that you want to keep control of the fingertips. In foundation training, we use a lot of this position, this half sphere of tension, through the hands, through the palms. And it's one of those things that we never want to lose focus on. And good. All right, a little bit of SI joint gliding. Good job. All right, let's go right back to the half kneeling position. knee right in front. And let's just go knee over toe. Good. Just working that knee over toe, working through the lower leg, working through that soleus, ankle mobility, push through it. Good and good. And then same thing other side. The knee is not out to the side, it's directly in front. And just push right through it. Knee over toe, heel on the ground. Good. And good. Now what haven't we worked on? We have not really addressed our thoracic spine. So let's go ahead, finish up this left side, Jackson. Jackson, where's your toy? Get me the fries. He has no idea what I'm saying. He's like, is this a fry? It looks like a cycling shoe. And good. All right. So let's work through the thoracic spine. Let's start getting some movement through that upper body. So let's keep including a little bit of hip rotation, a little bit of adductor mobility, and we're just going to reach to the ground and go through a little bit of windmill. So push your hips back, left arm to the ground, right arm up, come right back. We're just going in and out of that. Getting through the bicep on the back arm. Good. Good. You're not thinking about it right now, but from all of the work that we've done leading into this, your hips are rotating. If I drew attention to them, you'd probably start slowing down and thinking about it too much. Good, couple more, and that wouldn't be what we're after. We want this unconscious fluidity that comes. All right, so let's go into what we call the woodpecker stance or a split stance. So 3 points of contact on your lead leg, ball of the big toe, ball of the little toe, and the heel. There's your 3 points of contact. On your back foot, we're going into 2 points of contact. So the heel is floating in the back. From there, we're just going to float the hands to the front of the heart. And we've got the right leg back. Everybody join me. Right leg back. Right thumb into left palm. We're just pulling that apart. Back elbow up to create space in this rib cage. And then bring everything back. 2. And then bring it back. 3. From here, when the right thumb pulls back, the right hip has to open. The right shoulder blade squeezes close to the spine, and then bring it back. Right shoulder blade close to the spine, bring it back. Obvious name of this movement, the archer. Good and good. Let's hit the other side. So we're staying with the split stance, 3 points of contact on the lead foot, 2 points on the back foot. We're going right into left thumb because the left hip is back. Jackson, good boy. Good boy. No. Good boy. Okay, stay there. Left thumb into right palm. Pull it back. Keep your head forward and come back. The head position is important because if you let your head follow, then we know that the cervical spine and the T-spine are actually starting to get stuck. So we want your head to stay looking to the front. Pull that left shoulder blade. It's hard for a boxer to chase his tail. Left shoulder blade towards the spine. Keep the eyes on the lead hand. Archer, back. Couple more of these. And obviously these are movements, guys, that you can do throughout the day. Good. Pull back, come back. Pull back, come back. One more. Good and good. All right, shake that out. I hope you have an amazing Monday. We're getting into the 80 episodes. I'm going to keep showing up for you. You matter to me. I'm really thankful that on Mondays you show up live. And if you watch it later in the week, very much appreciate the attendance. Talk soon. Cheers. Aloha.